Hello Stampers, I'm Kelly Acheson at stampabove.com coming to you from Menasha, Wisconsin. Today I have a special treat. I am participating in a blog hop with the Totally Techniques design team. This is a team of Stampin' Up! Demonstrators from across the world. We are featuring the Inlay Die Cutting technique. This is really fun and easy. I'm going to be using the Detailed Hearts die today, along with the ridiculously awesome stamp set. So we're going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you how to do this, how easy it is. You can really use almost any dies that you have for this technique, and it's a lot of fun. Let's get started. Okay, so I am going to be starting with the card base of Calypso Coral. This is 4 1/4 by 11. I've already scored it here at 5 1/2. So we're just going to fold on that score line and burnish that edge. And then I chose to pull in my Playing with Patterns designer series paper. I just find this to be such a fun pack of DSP. It comes 6 by 6. You get all of these different patterns in here, and it coordinates with these 6 different colors. So I chose the stripe one here. I also have another card that I made using this designer paper, a different print, to share with you today also. So we've got our designer series paper here. Now this is cut at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, I think. Let me make sure. I forgot to write that down. Yep, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Then I've got a piece of our Coastal Cabana. This is going to be 4 by 5 1/4, and we are just going to layer that underneath this designer series paper layer. So I've got my liquid glue here, and I'm just going to secure that down. It's going to give us a very small margin, but just that little pop of color is going to look really nice on our Calypso Coral card base. And we can actually add that right away too. I've also got a piece of the designer series paper that's 2 1/2 by 6. I like to decorate my envelopes. Whoops, where'd my envelope go? Right here. I like to decorate my envelopes to match my cards, and I always recommend, I used to have a hard time cutting up my designer series paper because you were sure you were going to use that pattern up and find the perfect card for it after you didn't have enough to make it, right? So now what I do is I buy 2 packs of designer series paper, and I find I'm using more. My cards tend to be just a prettier presentation when I am giving them a matching envelope. So order 2 packs of designer paper, and then you won't feel bad about cutting them and using them. I'm using more designer paper now than ever when I buy 2. Okay, isn't that pretty? That's going to look beautiful as a presentation to give to somebody or coming in their mailbox. All right, then I have an inside layer. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to just get that stamped up. I think I'm just going to grab my Coastal Cabana ink pad here. And then, where'd my stamp set go? Here it is. I'm using the ridiculously awesome stamp set. This is a beautiful set of sentiments. I love the fonts in these, and they're happy. So I like happy sentiments. I'm going to stamp that right on my Whisper White layer. And we will do a little bit more decorating of this once we get some of the die cutting done. But for right now, I'm going to add this to the inside of my card, and then we're going to get on with that Inlay Die Cutting technique. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside with my envelope. Now I'm going to bring in this larger piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I am going to take the Detailed Hearts die, and I'm going to die cut this. I am also going to take some scraps, and these scraps are coordinating colors with my stripes. I've got Calypso Coral, Coastal Cabana, and Bumblebee. Once I'm done die cutting this white layer, I am going to die cut just some scraps so I have some hearts. And I'm just going to die cut this like this. I'm going to take this over to my sheet machine, die cut it. I'll be right back. And here comes my whole detailed hearts. And then I've got my bumblebee, my Coastal Cabana, and my Calypso coral. And a lot of these little buggers just fell right out of there. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take my silicone craft sheet and I'm gonna add some glue to it. And I'm going to do a dry fit. I wanna put this heart die right on the front of my striped page. I want to make sure it fits first, right? So I always like to do a little dry fit. Now I'm going to bring this onto my craft sheet and I'm going to get some glue on here. Now you could use adhesive sheets to also die cut underneath this paper to turn the whole thing into a big sticker. But here's what I found when I made my other card that I'll show you in just a second. This is very delicate, and you can see how it's kind of sticking to me a little bit here. Well, if you put a whole sticker on the back of this, it was kind of tricky. I'm not going to lie to you. It was kind of tricky to get that off of there and get it on here. So I decided not to use the adhesive sheets. This was easy and it worked great, right? And isn't that pretty? I just think that's so pretty. All right, now what else are we going to do to that? Well, we're going to bring in all these little hearts. And I die cut these in various colors so that I would be able to inlay them back into my project. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to some of my heart areas. Now, I could go through and I could fill out this whole thing and fill these hearts back in all over the place. But I only want a few of them because I think that's just going to look very charming. And I'm kind of setting them in place so that I know that they fit. And these just go back in like a puzzle piece. Here's one of our bigger hearts, and I think that should fit right in there. Yep. So I'm just putting some of my little pieces back in, and this is what they call inlay die cutting. You've die cut it, and now you're going to inlay the pieces back into your project. I'm going to add a few more of these little hearts, and I will be right back with you. Okay, this is how many I choose to add back in. So you, of course, could add as many little elements as you'd like back in there. But now I want to take some of these and add them to the inside. Because I've got all of these hearts left over, why wouldn't you want to add a little cuteness inside too? So let's give her... Doesn't that look nice? I like that a lot. Okay, we're going to finish our card off. I brought out my rectangle stitched dies, and I'm going to take one of these small ones here. Die cut it on a piece of Coastal Cabana. And then I'm going to get this. And I think that is a pretty good size for me to stamp the P.S. I love you. And I want to use that with my Memento black ink. Just like that. And that turned out great. That's exactly where I wanted it to be. I wanted that L to come in there, and I know that these kind of fell off the bottom a little bit, but I think that's going to be fine. I'm going to pop this up on a couple dimensionals. And then we're going to bring this in and put it... I'm going to push this all the way over to the edge. I think that's going to have some really neat interest, that it's not lined up over here with the edge of my designer paper, that it goes all the way to the edge. I think that looks kind of cool. Last but not least, I'm going to bring in the white crinkled seam binding, and I'm going to use my bow jig, jig, to tie a bow here. Now, if you've never seen one of these before and you're in the US, I do have one of my stamping friends. Her husband is making these. If you'd like to order one, just pop me an email, kelly@astampabove.com. Otherwise, you can make your own. It's just a piece of wood with some holes drilled in it. And here's my glue dots. You can see I use my Take Your Pick tool for just about everything. This thing is like one of my best friends. It took me a little while to get used to it. And I think I'm going to go right here with my glue dot and my bow. I think that looks great. Okay, you guys, what do you think? Let me get this out of the way. Isn't this cute? Again, this is the Inlay Die Cutting Technique. And here's the inside. I'm going to show you my other card that I made. And this card, this die, uses this designer paper, the polka dotted, and then I just put white hearts back in from the layer that I cut out here. I used the square stitched shape dies. I stamped You Got This in Coastal Cabana, and this layer right here is actually the designer paper. It's this particular pattern of the Playing with Patterns designer series paper, so I used that under there. What do you think? I think I've got two really pretty, fun little cards here. These are easy to make. This is a cool technique. You can do this with flowers. You can do it with words. You can do it with just about any kind of die where you can die cut it and die cut something in a different color or even the same color and put it back in there. If you would like to order any of the products that I've shown you today, this is my current host code. You can head right over to my blog. There is an order online button in the right-hand column. Please use this host code if your order is under $150. If it's over $150, don't use the code. You're going to get some rewards from Stampin' Up. And of course, I always want you to have those. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a blog hop. So we have demonstrators on the design team from all over the world that are all going to be featuring the Inlay Die Cutting Technique. You're going to want to see what they made too. I can't wait to see what they made. If you head over to my blog right here, you're going to find a picture of these cards. I always have still photos, dimensions, a complete ingredient list of what I've used, and actually links right back to my store if you'd like to see all the details about any of these particular products or purchase them. You're also going to find a list there for you to hop to each person's blog to see what they made. I hope you'll join me on this blog hop. Once again, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend it with me. Don't forget to click down here to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You don't want to miss anything I have coming out. And have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.